Hello, my friend. I'm glad you're here again. Before we begin, take a slow breath in, deep and steady, and let it out softly. Feel your shoulders drop, your thoughts settle. Let the noise around you fade just enough so you can hear yourself again. Now let's begin. What happens to the parts of ourselves we outgrow, and do they still live quietly somewhere within us? It's a strange thought, isn't it? That we might still carry the people we used to be, the versions of ourselves who laugh differently, dream differently, hurt differently. We don't see them when we look in the mirror, but sometimes, in unexpected moments, we feel them stir. Maybe it's when a song you haven't heard in years plays, and for a second you're back in a younger skin. Or when you pass a place that once held meaning, and a memory wakes up like it never slept. Or when you face something new and realize, almost with surprise, that the person who would have been terrified once now feels calm. That's the quiet truth of living. We keep changing, but we never truly discard who we were. Every version leaves an imprint, a layer of understanding, a small echo in our voice. When we outgrow something, a habit, a friendship, a dream, we often do it gently, almost unconsciously. We move forward, and the old self remains behind, watching, not angry, not forgotten, just still. Sometimes we grieve that, sometimes we feel relief, but either way, the old self doesn't vanish. It becomes part of the ground we stand on. We like to think of growth as a clean process, shedding skin, moving on, becoming new. But the truth is softer. Growth is more like a tree adding rings. Each season leaves its mark. You are not just who you are now. You are everything you have ever been, gathered in one living body. Think of all the versions of you who have existed so far. The child who believed, the teenager who questioned, the adult who endured, the dreamer who tried again and again. They all live here, beneath your heartbeat, within the way you see the world. Even the ones you wish you could forget, especially them. Because the parts of ourselves we outgrow often taught us the most. The fearful self showed us courage. The angry self showed us boundaries. The lost self showed us the value of direction. The naive self taught us hope, a kind of hope we might never recover fully, but still remember fondly. It's easy to look back and judge those earlier selves, to cringe at their choices, their mistakes, their blind spots. But when you look closer, you see that every version was doing the best they could with what they knew then. You've grown not in spite of them, but because of them. Every step forward is a conversation with your past. Every calm breath you take is something your old self once prayed for. Every moment of strength carries the fingerprints of the weaker versions that came before. Sometimes, though, we treat those earlier selves like ghosts, things to avoid, things that embarrass us. We close the door on who we used to be and pretend the person never existed. But ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. It just makes them lonelier. What if, instead of burying them, we invited them in? Imagine sitting down with your former self, the one who failed, who broke down, who loved the wrong person, who tried too hard to belong. What would you say to them now? Would you scold them, or would you thank them for surviving long enough to bring you here? Because that's what they did. They survived. Every past version of you carried you through a chapter you didn't yet understand. They didn't know what you know now, but they kept going anyway. and that deserves tenderness, not shame. The truth is, outgrown selves don't die, they rest. They live quietly inside you, sometimes whispering, sometimes waiting. They return in dreams, in habits, in flashes of feeling. And when they do, it's not to pull you backward, it's to remind you of where you came from. You might feel them at unexpected times. The child in you laughing at something small, the cautious self hesitating before a leap, the hopeful self lifting their head when the sky turns golden. They're all still here, not demanding control, but asking to be remembered. There's a kind of peace in realizing that. You don't have to erase your history to become new. You don't have to reject who you were to love who you are. Every new version of you is a continuation, not a replacement. Growth is not a revolution, it's an accumulation of grace. Still, some parts of us do fade. The illusions, the certainties, the identities that once fit so tightly. We lose them like we lose seasons. But even winter remembers summer. Even darkness remembers light. When you lose an old version of yourself, it's natural to feel grief. Change, even good change, comes with mourning. You might not miss the pain, but you might miss the simplicity, the way you once believed things were clear. It's okay to miss what you've outgrown. It's okay to love your past selves, even as you step away from them. Maybe that's what integration really means, to walk forward while holding hands with who you've been, to live in such a way that no part of you feels left behind. When you make peace with your earlier selves, you start to understand that growth doesn't mean separation, it means inclusion. It's not about building a brand new person, it's about deepening into the one you already are. There's a line I once read: "The person you become is built from the ones you were brave enough to be." That's it, isn't it? We are mosaics of our own becoming, each shard, each color, each scar forming something whole. So the next time an old feeling returns, an insecurity, a memory, a voice from long ago, don't rush to silence it. Listen, it might just be a younger part of you asking for acknowledgement. It might want to be thanked. It might need to be forgiven. And when you give it that moment of attention, that breath of kindness, something inside you relaxes. The tension between past and present softens. The old self stops haunting and starts harmonizing, because you were never meant to shed yourself like a skin and walk away. You were meant to gather, to collect, to integrate, to carry forward all the wisdom your earlier selves worked so hard to earn. So, what happens to the parts of ourselves we outgrow? They become the quiet foundation beneath our steps. They become memory, compassion, intuition. They become the depth in our eyes and the softness in our voice. They live on in the way we comfort others, in the patience we show, in the humility that comes from remembering what it felt like not to know. Nothing we have ever been is wasted. Not a single version of you was meaningless. Every one of them carried a piece of truth that you still hold. So take a slow breath now. Let yourself feel the weight and the warmth of all those selves gathered inside you. The child, the dreamer, the survivor, the learner, the one who's still figuring it out. They are all here, rooting for you, resting within you, watching you keep growing in ways they never imagined. And maybe that's what healing really is, not forgetting who you were, but finally realizing that every version of you was trying, in their own imperfect way, to become this. Thank you for being here, for giving yourself this moment to reflect. Stay gentle, stay curious, and stay kind. And if this question spoke to you, continue your journey with us on Yarven's Questions. More stories, more reflections, and more quiet truths are waiting for you. Take care, my friend. Until next time.